The sky no longer had a night. Siriel remembered darkness as a child, those brief hours when Artella's inner glow sank enough that the clouds turned bruise purple and the storms whispered instead of screamed. Now, even on the night side, the sky glowed a steady, blood-warm red. A choir drifted with Siriel, a dozen emberkin ribbons braided loosely together, their cores pulsing in quiet conversation as they rode an updraft along a thunder spire. "Warmth rising faster today," hummed Melen, his core flickering fast blue. "You always say that," another answered. "Yes, and so far I've always been right." Below them, the thunder spire rumbled. Its branching tips gathered charge from the churning clouds, the entire structure humming with harmonic lightning. Tiny organisms crawled along its limbs, opening and closing as they drank energy and repaired broken segments. Far above, barely visible through the thickening glow, the halo of the Archive of Winds turned slowly. Siriel focused her fields, feeling the shape of it, an enormous torus of frozen magnetic patterns and mineral dust, suspended in a carefully engineered calm pocket of air. The greatest work of her people, their memory, woven into a ring of nearly still storm. "Choir Siriel," came a distant pulse from the archive keepers. "Approach. Decision time." Melen's filaments brushed Siriel's edge. "You don't have to go," his pattern said, gentle. "We could join the caravan, try the upper currents. Some say the heat might spare a few if they rise high enough." Siriel cast a quiet swirl of static amusement. "And some say we can turn storms to stone if we sing loudly enough. Hope is not the same as physics, Melen." Still she pulsed gratitude along their shared link. The upward current lived strongly in him. They ascended together, gliding around the thunder spire's trunk, using its magnetic spine as a ladder. The air grew brighter and thinner, every breath of it hot enough to scald unprotected tissues. Their thermal sheaths glittered, patchy with recent repairs. Around them, pressure lanterns hung like paper suns, glowing in sympathetic rhythm with each other. One drifted close, its membranes breathing, casting a cool wash of light over Siriel's core. "You are climbing high, little ones," the lantern's bacterial chorus hummed. "We will sing where we must," Siriel replied, "then carry this pattern with you." The lantern flashed a brief motif, 3 tones, descending then rising sharply. A simple song, but encoded with 1,000 subtle variations of timing and intensity. A memory seed. Siriel absorbed it, tucking it into a quiet corner of her field, a little light to carry. The Archive of Winds loomed closer, a vast ring where the storm went almost still, an eerie calm in the middle of Artella's building frenzy. Powerful magnetic scaffolds, half technological, half living, kept it stable. Halo blooms drifted near the upper edge, forming a false crown of pale fire. At the ring's lower inner surface, thousands of emberkin moved in patient spirals, each adding their patterns to the archive. Siriel's choir detached from the thunder spire and let the ring's gentle currents pull them inward. She felt the static tingle of security fields brushing her membranes, verifying identities by their unique EM fingerprints. "Choir Siriel," confirmed. "Clearance to inscribe." A warm, neutral presence greeted them, the archive's caretaker choir, a collective older than any single member. Their combined pattern had a comforting, low-frequency hum. "You come with your myths?" asked the caretaker. "And with our doubts," Siriel answered. They settled into orbit, circling the inner rim. Below, the rapidly brightening depths of Artella churned with light. No true surface, just denser layers glowing like molten glass. "Say it," Melen pulsed softly as they took their positions by a waiting node of magnetized dust. Siriel paused. How to compress an entire life into one pattern? She thought of youthful races through sheer serpent tunnels, of watching a leviathan roll like a continent against the distant sky, of nights that were dark enough you could almost believe the universe outside Artella still existed. She thought of the first time she heard the doctrine of the 3 currents, and how it had settled around her like a new skin. Upward, hold, surrender. She gathered her field and began. Her pattern unfolded as a slow wave. memories encoded as subtle shifts of phase and amplitude. The bitter taste of burnt aerophytes after a storm, the ache of watching a beloved friend burn in a sudden flash of lightning, the awe at hearing the hum of the core through an especially quiet night. She added her doubts. What if there is no prime blaze? What if our stories end here and nowhere else remembers us? What if the universe does not care? She added her answer. We remembered ourselves. We cared. We made beauty inside a collapsing sky. That is enough. The archive drank it in, layering her pattern among countless others. The laughter of children, the debates of philosophers, the chants of engineers arguing over vortex stress tolerances. When she finished, her core dimmed with exhaustion. Sirael, the caretaker murmured, its collective pattern thick with something like pride. Your doubts are as valuable as your faith. Both sharpen the blaze. Melon added his own song next, a bright cascade of hopeful solutions and impossible projects. Engineered spores to seed exomoons, field sails to ride stellar winds, dreams that even the most generous models called vanishingly unlikely. The archive accepted those too. As the cycle turned, alarms pulsed through the ring. High-frequency bursts, urgent, core brightening spike, gravitational contraction accelerating, storm activity increasing by 30%. Across the sky, new lightning webs erupted, spanning entire regions like cracking ceramic. Thunder spires groaned. One shattered entirely, its branch colonies cast into chaos as the currents tore them apart. The emberkin in the archive paused, not in panic, but in a collective listening stillness. Far below, the light grew whiter. We are closer than we thought, Melon whispered. We always are, Sirael replied. In the distance, a caravan passed, a loose cluster of gigantic leviathan, bristling with experimental field sails and ringed by smaller habitats. Their surfaces crackled with overloaded power lines. Cinderfly swarms flickered around them, agitated. Those are the Radiant Flight, Melon said, the ones trying to surf the stellar wind when the blaze begins. Sirael watched them, feeling a tug of the upward current. If they succeed, she said slowly, they will never see Artella as a star. They'll be flung into cold dark, carrying the memory of a world that burned without them. Is that bad? Melon asked. There was no sarcasm, just curiosity. Not bad, Sirael answered. Just different. A lonely path. She pulsed affection at him. You would probably like it. He flickered a laughing pattern. Maybe. I am vain enough to want the universe to know we tried. Later, back on the archive's inner rim, a summoning pulse passed through every member present. The caretakers spoke with an unusual firmness. We must decide the timing, they said. When do we release the archive? The plan was simple. At a chosen moment, the magnetic scaffold would be collapsed in a controlled way, turning the archive into a massive, coherent EM pulse, encoded with all stored data, broadcast outward in every direction. But the power had to be just right. Too early. The signal might be weak, lost in background noise. Too late. Ignition would warp it into useless static. Debate erupted, patterns swirling fast. The upward current argued for waiting as long as possible to maximize information, to capture every last voice. The holding current urged moderation, balancing completeness with clarity. The surrendering current whispered, release it now, anything more is greed. Sirael listened, then pulsed a suggestion. We time it to the first white flash, she said. When the core light punches through the deepest layers and the sky shifts from red to white. That is the moment of second birth. Let our signal ride that boundary. There was silence, an intense stillness in the EM bandwidth. Then slowly, one by one, choirs signaled agreement. Melen nudged her. You just made theology into engineering, or engineering into theology, she answered. Days, or what passed for days, as time lost clear meaning, bled into each other. The sky brightened relentlessly. Halo blooms multiplied, forming crowns of dazzling rings. Glass wings became almost impossible to see, their refractive bodies cutting through the shining air like ghosts. In the depths below, furnace whales began to die, their radiant shells bursting, sending plumes of glowing gas upward like final prayers. One night, Sirael woke to a sensation she had never felt before, a steady, deep vibration, as if the entire atmosphere was standing on the edge of a note. "It's happening," Melen whispered, already awake. The glow from below was no longer red, but a fierce, pushing orange. The temperature in their layer climbed despite all cooling measures. Pressure rose, though they drifted as high as they dared. The archive pulsed with readiness. Brace fields, align broadcast vectors, all choirs to inner rim. Emberkin gathered, forming luminous streamers all around the ring. Pressure lanterns dimmed, their bacterial symbiotes struggling with the rising heat. Thunder spires shrieked as their structures hit breaking points in the distance. Far off, the radiant flight caravans unfurled their gigantic field sails, catching the first hints of a changing stellar wind. Sirael took her place between Melen and a quiet elder whose name pattern meant soft falling storm. "Are you afraid?" Melen asked. "Yes," Sirael said simply, "but I am also very curious." Beneath them, the glow deepened to a blinding gold. The first white flash came like the universe inhaling. For the briefest moment, every cloud layer from the ember mantle to the shimmer veil became translucent, lit from within. The world turned to glass. Sirael saw, in that instant, the full curve of Artella's atmosphere, spirals upon spirals, bands and vortices she had only ever glimpsed in fragments. She saw distant caravans, tiny against the glare, sails straining. She saw halo blooms ignite into pure, screaming brilliance. She saw lattice reefs fracture into shining dust. She saw, impossibly far above, the blackness of space, pricked with other stars. Then the heat hit. Every membrane screamed with sudden expansion. Thermal sheaths vaporized. The air itself ionized around them, turning into a white, roaring plasma. "Now," murmured the caretakers, their pattern barely holding shape. The archive collapsed. Magnetic structures fell inward, not physically, but in the arrangement of their fields. The enormous torus turned in a microsecond into a single, perfectly timed pulse. All the songs, all the doubts, all the laughter and equations and myths compressed into an encoded thunderclap of EM energy. It blasted outward, carried on the newborn star's first coherent roar. Sirael felt herself coming apart, molecules shaking loose, filaments burning. Her consciousness frayed at the edges, but one last idea rose to the top. We were here. She reached for Melen, found him, and they wrapped around each other as best they could, two ribbons in a world turning to fire. In their final shared moment, he sent a tiny, almost sheepish pattern. "If anyone hears us, I hope they like our songs." Sirael answered with the pressure lantern's little melody, the simple three-note motif, descending then rising sharply. Together, they hummed it not with voices, but with the last coherence of their fields. Then, Artella's sky went fully white. Far above, beyond the dead atmosphere, the pulse of the archive raced outward. It crossed the orbits of the desperate seed world probes, brushed the straining sails of the radiant flight, and then leapt into the deep dark between stars. Somewhere, ages from now, someone might notice it. Or maybe not. But in that first fierce moment of its new existence, as a full-born star, Artella sang of the life that had burned inside it. And that song for a heartbeat in cosmic time was enough.